Hey, I want to thank you for tuning in again, and I hope these short devotionals are an encouragement to you and challenging to you and help you in your walk. Let's look at Colossians chapter number 1, verse 12 through 14. He says, giving thanks to the Father who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of the saints in light. He has delivered us from the domain of darkness and transferred us to the kingdom of his beloved Son, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins. Well, he starts off and says, give thanks. And there is so much that we continually have to be thankful for. But here, Paul was telling the church to give thanks to God, to give thanks to the Father, because he has qualified you. Now, I think there's just something about the way we live in the world that we have a tendency to think that there's something that we must do in order to be accepted. There's something that we've got to do and in order to be approved. And there's something that changes that we've got to make, and we've got to make ourselves better so that we can be qualified. And there is no doubt, friends, that as we allow Christ to live through us, there will be certain things that will fall off in our behaviors and attitudes and actions that will no longer fit who he has made us to be. But it's most important to remember that nothing you do qualifies you for inheritance in the saints. What he did on that cross, through his death, burial, resurrection, and ascension, through his finished work alone, we are qualified for the inheritance of the saints. That you and I, friends, are saints. We're sanctified ones. We're the children of God by grace through faith in what he did. And beautiful good news, he's the one who qualified you. When I wasn't qualified for anything, he qualified me. He has delivered us from the domain of darkness. And let there be no doubt in your mind, apart from Christ, we lived in the domain or under the reign of darkness. We could say, well, not everything I did was evil, not everything I did was bad. But then again, we make that mistake because we were eating from the wrong tree. We were eating from the tree of knowing good and evil. And sometimes we lived more on the good side of the tree than the evil side of the tree. But all along, from the time Adam and Eve chose to eat from that tree, it was the wrong tree. You see, he delivered us from the domain of doing. He delivered us from performing for acceptance. He delivered us from having to sin, having to be self-sufficient, having to make something of ourselves. He's delivered us from the domain of darkness, and he transferred us to the kingdom of his beloved Son. So I want you to take a minute and remind yourself that by grace, through faith in the finished work of Christ, you've been delivered from the reign of darkness, and you now live under his reign, his kingdom. And so all of my life's pursuits really should be centered and focused on the advancement of his kingdom, allowing him to rule and reign in our lives and to reveal himself through us, to advance his kingdom, because that's the kingdom that we've been transferred to. And he says, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sin. Well, the idea of redemption is used to picture the idea that we were bought out of slavery. We've been redeemed and we've been forgiven. How much has he forgiven us? He's forgiven us of all. So I hope that you'll live today and each day of your life as someone who's been redeemed, forgiven, liberated to live under his reign and for his kingdom. For you are a child of God. Hey, I love you.